Welcome to the channel. Today, I will be recapping the movie Escobar, Paradise Lost. While you may have come across numerous stories and web series about Pablo Escobar, this film uncovers a disturbing chapter of his life that Netflix concealed. It portrays how he instilled fear within his own family and the consequences one faces when involved with a girl from Escobar's family. The story commences by introducing us to Nick, a surfer exploring the beaches of Colombia in 1982, accompanied by his brother Dylan. They had traveled from Canada to Colombia with the purpose of constructing a beach house for surfers, a project they were deeply passionate about. During their time there, Nick encounters a captivating young woman named Maria, and a profound connection develops between them. Love blossoms amidst their interactions. However, Nick soon discovers that Maria is Escobar's niece. Prior to this revelation, Nick had already been exposed to numerous news stories about Escobar. Infamous for his involvement in drug trafficking, Escobar was considered the primary figure in all illegal trades within Colombia. Despite his criminal activities, Escobar was hailed as a deity by the people due to his amassed wealth, which he also utilized for charitable endeavors. Fueled by his immense fortune, Escobar harbored aspirations of becoming the president of Colombia. Next day, the Rolando brothers, accompanied by their gang, arrive at the beach and commence the destruction of the brothers' beach house. They threaten Nick and Dylan, asserting that the construction cannot proceed without payment. However, Dylan dismisses their threats, and Nick refrains from discussing the matter with Maria. Before we delve further into the story, kindly consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell icon. Now, let's resume the narrative. Eventually, Maria informs Escobar about Nick, triggers his curiosity to express a desire to meet Nick. She extends an invitation to Nick, who coincidentally finds himself at the market purchasing clothes for the impending party. It is during this time that the Rolando brothers orchestrate an attack on Nick using their dog, as a consequence of his failure to pay for the beach house. Nick sustains injuries from the dog, which he conceals, proceeding to meet Maria at Escobar's opulent palace. Coincidentally, it is Escobar's birthday today. Both of them are brought in by a chopper. Maria introduces Nick to her entire family, including Escobar himself. Nick is amazed by Escobar's extravagant and luxurious lifestyle. Even the dinner table is adorned with gold cutlery. After the meal, Escobar speaks with Nick and asks about his relationship with Maria. Nick hesitates briefly but eventually confesses their love for each other. Escobar notices the scars on Nick's hand from a dog attack and inquires about it. Nick casually mentions the Rolando brothers. Escobar noted it. Soon after, Escobar organizes a lavish engagement ceremony for Maria and Nick at a magnificent farm, filled with grandeur. However, Nick's brother Dylan and his wife are unhappy with this situation. They are well aware of Escobar's criminal status as a powerful drug lord. Dylan informs Nick that Escobar's men brutally murdered the Rolando brothers, burning their bodies. He also reveals that Escobar is not just a drug kingpin but a criminal mastermind. Fear takes hold of Nick, but now that their engagement has taken place, both Maria and Nick have been asked to live in Escobar's farmhouse. Nick doesn't have power to deny and accepts it. Nick is too afraid to confront Escobar about the drug trafficking operations. Nonetheless, Escobar assigns him tasks related to maintaining the farmhouse, providing Nick with gradual exposure to the illicit activities. One day, while visiting the stable, Nick encounters Drago, one of Escobar's trusted men. Drago is cleaning his bloodied body, and Nick notices a partially dismembered body nearby. Despite his fear, Nick tries to maintain a facade of normalcy, realizing he is now trapped in a dangerous situation. Following this incident, Drago congratulates Nick on the engagement and notifies Escobar that Nick has witnessed everything. The next day, Escobar meets with Nick and declares him a member of their family. He also mentions their immense wealth and how people envy them. Escobar explains that, on occasions, he has to eliminate certain individuals to safeguard his family. Shocked by this revelation, Nick finds himself plagued by sleepless nights. One day, he suggests to Maria, "Let's return to the beach house." However, Maria becomes upset and expresses, Escobar is a respectable man, and everyone here admires him. Observing Maria's emotional state, Nick ponders he might excessively preoccupied with Escobar. After a few days, Escobar emerges victorious in the elections and assumes a position in the Colombian parliament. Nevertheless, the Minister of Justice accuses Escobar of attaining his victory through monetary manipulation. Witnessing these escalations, Escobar starts concealing his valuable possessions from his farmhouse, aiming to demonstrate to the government that he possesses no illegal wealth. Escobar arranges for Nick and Maria to stay at his brother Dylan's residence temporarily. The following day, Dylan receives a pistol from Nick's driver and questions him, "Are you turning into a criminal now?" Subsequently, a radio announcement reveals that Escobar has orchestrated the assassination of the Minister of Justice and initiated a conflict against the Colombian government to seize control. Nick and Maria are relocated to one of Escobar's safe houses, where they witness daily reports of his violent acts and bombings. Moreover, the Americans join the pursuit of Escobar. Escobar frequently alters his appearance and resides in various safe houses. On one occasion, he even visits the safe house where Nick and Maria are hiding, accompanied by his loyal associates. The couple becomes deeply frightened by these events. Escobar's motive for killing numerous government officials was to impose his own terms upon the government. Consequently, he retreats to the jungle to evade capture. Almost every day, he continues to eliminate politicians, judges, police officers, and numerous bombings caused Nick and Maria great distress as they see all these news ongoing. Eventually, they make the decision to leave Colombia and seek refuge in Canada. In light of this, Nick discreetly meets with his brother, provides him with money, and instructs him to book 4 tickets to Canada, with plans to depart the following week. One fateful night, as they were preparing to depart from Colombia, Escobar's men suddenly appeared. They swiftly take Nick, blindfolding him and leading him to Escobar's concealed sanctuary. Inside, he discovered additional relatives of Escobar's family. Escobar assembled everyone and conveyed the news that the Colombian government had finally accepted his conditions. He would have to select a prison for himself, but before surrendering, he sought to conceal his vast wealth. Placing his trust in everyone, he wanted assistance from his relatives. Relatives collected the money and dispersed to various locations. Nick was entrusted with a bundle of cash, accompanied by a personal firearm handed to him by Escobar, who also provided instructions on firing. Using a map, Escobar pointed out a church as Nick's destination. There, he was to meet a guide who would take charge of the money boxes and secrete them within a nearby cave. Upon their return from hiding the cash, Nick had to stage a breakdown of their vehicle. Seizing the opportune moment when the guide attempted to repair the car, he needed to eliminate the guide, ensuring the secrecy of the money's location. Nick experienced unease, horrifying with the fact that he had never killed anyone before. Nonetheless, he embarked on the journey in the car, and he had some sensation that someone is following him. Finally arriving near the village containing the designated church, the guide appeared. To Nick's astonishment, the guide was a mere 15-year-old boy, and he was faced with the harrowing task of shooting a kid. The guide led Nick to an isolated area in the mountains, where they commenced hiding the money within a cavern. Notably, Nick observed that the boxes contained diamonds instead of cash, prompting him to claim few for himself. After concealing the boxes, the guide employed dynamite to seal off the cave's entrance, rendering it impenetrable. Nick handed 2 diamonds to the guide and instructed him to depart. The guide, taken aback by the unexpected gift, hinted at the possibility of more diamonds within the cave. In response, Nick aimed his gun at the guide but found himself unable to pull the trigger. Instead, he dropped the guide behind in the village. Later, Nick contacts Maria, who is filled with anxiety. She informs him that she believed Nick was dead due to the news circulating about the discovery of Escobar's deceased relatives scattered across different villages in Colombia. These were the same individuals tasked with hiding the money. Nick now realizes that he has been also marked for death. Escobar had stooped so low for money that he was killing his own family relatives. Nick and Maria devise a plan to meet at the church near the Canadian embassy the following morning. Nick ends the call, and it is revealed that Drago, the individual sent to eliminate Nick, is present at the church. In a subsequent scene, it becomes evident that Drago has already killed the guide and his family. He also shoots Nick's car, causing a puncture to prevent Nick's escape. However, Nick observed these events and swiftly vaults over a nearby shop's wall to take cover. Despite being surrounded on all sides, he manages to conceal himself inside his own punctured vehicle. Drago and his men relentlessly pursue him, prompting Drago to contact the local police for assistance, as they were also complicit with Escobar. Nick spends the entire day concealed within the car, biding his time. As evening descends and the police become less vigilant, he seizes the opportunity to sneak out and aims his pistol at a police officer. With his weapon at the ready, he makes his way out of the village. He contacts his brother, Dylan, only to have Dylan's wife answer the call and deliver the devastating news that Escobar's men are present and they have already killed Dylan. Shortly, Nick hears 2 gunshots over the phone, signifying the deaths of Dylan's wife and son as well. Overwhelmed with despair, Nick remains in a state of shock for an extended period. Eventually, Drago and his men arrive, however, this time, Nick is consumed by a burning rage. He readies his pistol and commences a fierce assault on Drago and his men, eliminating them all. Nevertheless, Nick is wounded during the exchange of gunfire. Despite his injuries, he embarks on a nighttime journey, driving relentlessly until he reaches the church near the Canadian embassy. After some time, Maria also arrived at the scene. She is overjoyed to see him, but her happiness quickly turns into distress when she notices that Nick is bleeding. Frantically, she rushes outside and seeks help from the Canadian embassy. However, her pursuers catch up to her as Escobar's men reach the location. Towards the end of the movie, it is depicted that in 1991, Escobar surrendered in front of his thousands supporters and the media. He surrenders on his own terms and is subsequently sent to a specially designed prison of his own making, where he would enjoy a life of luxury and comfort, completely devoid of any police presence. On the same day, Nick succumbs to his bleeding in the church, right before God. The fate of Maria remains a mystery till date. This film presents a glimpse into Pablo Escobar's criminal empire, where he mercilessly killed thousands of individuals and made countless others disappear. If you wish to delve deeper into his story, I highly recommend watching the Netflix web series titled Narcos. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon.